good afternoon, namaste everyone. I take this honor of welcoming you on behalf of Cisco AppDynamics and QualityKiosk to the exclusive webinar on full stack observability solutions for digital businesses. My name is Divya. I lead the marketing function for QualityKiosk and I'll be serving you as the moderator for today. The webinar will bring you exclusive insights into how full stack observability solutions can improve the business outcomes and help you enhance your end customer experience. Stay tuned with us till the end of the webinar as we'll be announcing some interesting propositions for each one of you who has joined us today. Before we begin the session, let me quickly introduce you to our speakers. Our first speaker of the day is Mr. Vardhan Patil. He spearheads the global delivery for an array of performance assurance solutions and is responsible for consulting around digital marketing projects in APAC region. Welcome, Mr. Vardhan Patil. Joining Mr. Patil is Mr. Abhijeet Bhaskar, who heads the channel sales engineering for India market at Cisco AppDynamics. And a special guest of honor for today is Mr. Joseph Manalang, who heads the Service Operation Intelligence Center at Globe Telecom and is our esteemed customer as well. I welcome all the speakers to this webinar. Moving on, I would request Mr. Patil to commence the program and take over the proceedings ahead. Mr. Vardhan, over to you.
Yeah, so good afternoon, folks. So I am here to talk about observability, and I'm Vardhan Patil. So, like what Divya has already introduced us all. So like what COVID is out, what we are all hoping, and businesses are right now just coming back, where we are all trying to be normal. So we are living in an incredible acceleration during pandemic. We have seen a 10 years of transformation in under just 10 months. So by me saying this, what I mean to say is that there is a sudden surge of internet usage. There is an increase in e-commerce. There is an increase in uh, customer interactions, which are more digital right now. So COVID-19 has compelled the organizations to focus on curating the outstanding digital experiences, not just for the customer, for the employees as well as the partners. So this is now the beginning of a new normal where the services are getting digital, automated, resilient, and more secured with a personal touch, which has become a new thumb rule now. So when we say about these, there is a rapid shift in working patterns. There is a new demands in digital systems, and also there is a new demand in innovations and customer are all happening over the night. So that is what is bringing out for all of us in this COVID is what we are saying. Divya, can you move to next slide?
Sure.
Yeah. So this is what the changes that are COVID has brought, which will not be a temporary, but will be living for a very long period. So just 10 years back, when cloud was just a luxury, now it is a necessity for each and every organization. And now internet is a new network where people not just transact or not just interact or socialize, but also people are working over the internet. And this is also implied to move on SaaS. So economics mandating to demand zero downtime, but more frequent feature changes to ensure that we have a loyal customer brand. And this is what we call as home is the new office, where everyone is working or most of the folks are working from home or within a hybrid cloud environment. So what does this mean? This means that the new demands are accelerating across the globe to adopt new technologies like cloud, IoT, or we can say microservices, and people are just upgrading or migrating from the legacy systems to these new technologies. So as digital transformation is driving cloud adoption is in further driving the complexity of these applications. by moving the on-premise applications to SaaS to ensure that we have a 24/7 availability of applications as well as that customer experience. So, since now cloud is no longer being a luxury, by this, what we mean is that there is more and more data across this expanding attacking surface. By that, what we mean is the new use cases we are getting across this ecosystem for ensuring that we have a resilient and reliable applications and digital experience. So, Divya, can you move to next slide? Yeah. So by that, what I mean is that when we move to the cloud, there is a more greater data exposure across the landscape. So we have cloud security of, then we have a security posture for applications on the cloud, and then we have the, as we are adopting with the hybrid workplaces, we say that internet is the now the new network. Organizations are pushed beyond to look beyond the enterprise networks. So in when we say pushing beyond the enterprise networks, this is again adding more and more failure points and unpredictability towards the data as it moves from enterprise to customer network over the public cloud. Economy is also mandating for adding new features with zero downtime, which makes us to migrate from on-premise to SaaS, which has also made us adopt microservices, modernization of the new technologies, which is again having more frequent releases. And last but not least is that home is the new network. So when we say home is the new network, what is this bringing? This is bringing multiple devices and multiple public clouds as well as the private clouds, wherein we are again increasing more devices to secure as well as more network to be more resilient and more blind spots or failure points to be observed. Can we go to next slide? So this is what tells. This is what generally a question comes in the mind. So as companies and services are moving to cloud, observability is becoming a more relevant topic. And what the question is more prominent these days is that what is observability, or is it really important because I already have a monitoring in place, or some organizations are saying how do we set it. So basically, what people say that when I already have a monitoring in place, so why do I need observability? So basically, monitoring is more uh, like the picture that is right now on the screen. You only know if the pizza is burnt out, burn once it is out. So what does that mean? That means that you just monitor those things which we already know, which are going to fail. That is, this is more relevant to a monolithic large system where we already anticipate that these are the possible failure points, and this is what we are going to monitor. But when we consider this entire oven or pizza system as an ecosystem, uh, we don't have the visibility within its internal systems, or we need to have those visibility within those internal systems, because we never because there are those categories of errors, what we say that uh, we know that might happen, but we don't expect, like pizza, there might be a chance that pizza might burn out, and we think that okay, we just put it in a oven and now we get a very good pizza. So for this, what we need to have is what observability says is that we need to have a telemetry. What does telemetry means? Basically, is that we make systems more observable. By that, what we mean that observability is a system property. So when we say it is a system property, what is that? If we could have a snapshot of that entire oven, what is happening within that oven, and we could at a certain point say, okay, my pizza is properly getting baked, or okay, there is a transistor failure in the oven, and this is causing a problem. So I can know it before forehand, so that it don't impacts my brand or my customer experience. So when we talk about observability, so there are certain telemetry components which are standard, but those are not restricted to it. Those are the metrics, logs, and traces. Now you all now we all know that we can have all this data, and we can capture, uh, put it, gather it, gather this all telemetry data somewhere, and we can do something on it. So like, what does the monitoring do is, monitoring captures the metrics data. And what does metrics data tells? It tells only what is the state of my system, or what is the state of that monitor. That's it. But it doesn't tell me where exactly the problem is, or what that problem is. So that is where we require logs. That is where we require traces. So what traces are going to tell? Traces are going to tell us where exactly is the problem. So when we talk about observability, let me give you an example of Amazon S3 service, so which we all are well aware, and some of you might have already been using it. But to tell you that Amazon S3 S3 service, in backend there are more than 130 microservices that are interacting with each other to provide you just a single S3 service. Just imagine if there is an issue in the services, microservices, in the way they interact, and if all of a sudden 50 of those microservices start sending you alerts, then how we are going to determine where exactly the issue is? So this is where the traces are going to help. They look at the transaction flow, how the dependencies are, and how the request and response are flowing across the system. And to further note what exactly the root cause is, or what that exception is, there is where logs will help us out. So logs tell us this is the exact exception, or this is the issue, and which we need to rectify, or which we can provide it to the developers and get it rectified. So this is in crux the observability. So now let me take you ahead with what we have for observability and you all in this. So what QualityKiosk considers that in this journey where there is AI ops, there is SRE, there is DevOps, we consider observability as the first step. So it is a best practice which needs to be implemented to have these many features like automation, or like SRE, or unified dashboards, everything. So observability is the very first step what we take when we implement this entire journey. So by meaning this, what I want to tell you is that we have a wide QualityKiosk has a wide experience across implementing these kind of solutions across the different organizations, and we know that organizations are already, some are at a certain maturity level, like some are into reactive, or they are just need to move towards proactive. There might be some organizations who are already into preventive, and they are now implementing AI or ML features to predict the outcomes, and just ensure that their business is not impacted. Or there might be some other few of the organizations who have already reached the level where they are start thinking about automating the actions to bring that faster innovation. So QualityKiosk helps you to assess this entire journey of monitoring or observability, full stack observability, and help you guide where exactly you reside in this journey. What is the maturity level? What are the gaps or the next steps you need to take to move ahead in the ladder of this maturity? So by that, what we mean is that we help you to ensure that to take that observability is a more data driven entity. It's not just about having logs, traces, and metrics at one place. We have to understand that at the end, these are data, and unless and until you connect it with a business context or a use case, it is not going to help you. And that is where the multidisciplinary experience of QualityKiosk, as it is being a functional testing entity, as it is being a pre-production and post-production expertise that QualityKiosk brings in, it helps the entire organizations to move ahead in this journey. So So to give you a key takeaway, first is that observability is the very first step uh, of this entire journey of AIOps, SRE, and DevOps. And to help you in this entire journey, QualityKiosk has a very vast experience uh, which can help you bring these different features like AI, ML, or chaos engineering, because we already are doing these kind of activities at different customers. So to take you ahead, let me share with you one of the case study of one of our customers where we have successfully helped along with AppDynamics to a telecom giant, Globe Telecom in Philippines, to deliver high MTTI, that is uh, quick identification of issues, to help innovate faster by reducing the mean time to resolve, and at the same time help in reducing the time committed for the systems to recover. So while saying this, let me hand over this talk to Abhijeet Bhaskar, who will help you drive this entire observability system, how Cisco strategizes and simplifies this entire observability system.
Thank you, Mr. Vardhan, for amazing insights into monitoring, especially with the analogy that you explained. Before we move on to Mr. Bhaskar, we would want our audiences to participate in the poll. And here we're bringing our poll number one. Rajat, can you just please put up the polls? Our poll number one is, do you have full stack observability solutions deployed in your organization? We are keen to know if this is something which is already deployed, or this is something which is in the consideration stage. So here we put up the poll and we request your participation in the same. So we have few more seconds. We have 20 seconds for you to uh, put in your answers. Great. Thank you so much, everyone, for participating in the polls. Now, I would like to hand over the presentation to Mr. Bhaskar. Mr. Bhaskar, over to you.
Thank you, Divya. Can you make me presenter, please?
Yes, sure.
Great, thank you. Thank you everyone for joining today. Myself, Abhijeet Bhaskar from Cisco AppDynamics. We are going to talk today about full stack observability for the digital businesses. The way Vardhan has put it clearly, that how the full stack observability is a need of an hour, I will say, for every other our business, whether we are in a business like a banking, whether we are in insurance, or any kind of services we are providing to our end customers, right? From this last 2 years, since we have gone through this various different kind of a time in this last 2 years because of the pandemic, right? We must have observed that we have increased our application usage across this particular time, right? Whether we want to order something, you have to do some shopping, or whether we want to order some medicines, or whether we want to order food from Swiggy, right? Nowadays we are so familiar, so got dependent on this particular mobile apps world, where we start leveraging and increasing the usage of these applications, right? And that's what the people say, that these digital services or these apps are like a very much critical for day-to-day life, right? And the reason is obvious, like whenever we want to go step out, we always think before that whether I can get something at my doorstep rather than I go outside and get it, right? So let's say while we are doing this in our life, suddenly in the morning when I wake up and I want to order something or some medicine from the medical, and if that app doesn't work over here, what I will think about it, right? So if the app is not working at that point of time, or if I'm not able to put my order and I'm not able to get my medicines, right? So it is straightforward. We think about an application is not working, right? And that is what all the consumers across the globe, like, there are 60% customers thinks that if something is not working, that is something which is application, or it is a brand which is actually encountering the problem. And so particular this brand applications are not working properly, you can't get that deliver. And that's how it is happens as a brand impact, like your application impact, right? Now when it comes to that, those kind of consumers out of that, like a AppDynamics attention index report, there are 83% customers who believe that this brand is the responsibility, the brand is completely responsible to ensure that the digital service they provides, that has to be smooth, that has to be available at any point of time when the consumers want to use it, right? So obviously when consumers started thinking about the brand is responsible, they always think that whenever there is a application which they are using it, if that is not something working, if it is very poor, they will have the they start thinking of the other options, right? So if I'm trying to book a cab, right, for my particular commutation, and if it is not working, what I will do, I will try to find out some other app where I can get the cab easily, right? So the point is, users start replacing those particular app by getting other competitive apps and by getting the other options with them, right? And it's very easy, like you will have a number of options available for every other service which you are using, you will able to replace with any other particular app, right? So, and that is the reason the companies across which provide this kind of various services, they are investing into those applications. They're trying to make the application or the digital experience more better, or try to give the more functionality, or try to develop new application, new interfaces for their end user customers. So as per the IDC report, around by 2023, there will be 500 new million applications which will be deployed in the App Store or the Play Store on Google, right? And those many, so point is, those many applications will be available to end customers like this. Now let's come to those customers who are using this kind of solutions. So most of these applications which are getting developed or being nowadays being used, those are actually cloud native applications, right? And those can be cloud native, those can be on-premise, but along with that, it can be a microservices based applications as well, right? Because that is the new age, and that is very easy as a developer. If I want to talk about the developer world, for them it's very easy that deploying the code and creating the containers and deploying it, right? And not only that, they also leverage the technology, like latest technologies like Kubernetes and the serverless architectures, right? And to support on those kind of things, nowadays we do have the multiple options available. You can deploy your applications or the microservices, whether it can be a public cloud, it can be a private cloud, or it can be a multi-cloud architecture, or it can be a hybrid clouds, right? So you have all the flexibility and options as a application developer where you can deploy those applications. Now what happens with this is, it brings a unique set of business challenges or the operational challenges to manage those applications, or to manage that particular business services, or to giving that end-to-end services to your customers. What happens? So when many times it happens that a particular region is not able to use a particular function in that particular app or the application, right? A particular service which is being, let's say, hosted on a particular third-party cloud, right, which is not responding, it turns out to be impacting to your application. Let's say I'm not able to pay out, but because that particular API was given for some payment gateway, and the payment gateway is not responding, and hence I'm not able to place my medicines order, right? Or the customers who have multiple branch operations, one of the branch is not working, right? So those kind of different operational challenges, which slowly turns out to be a big time of business challenges, which becomes very complicated to handle or to resolve. And obviously that's something which is again in the peak production hours, in real time, when you have a peak hours where customers are using your application services, that's not something easy to overcome, right? I mean, everybody start figuring out whether it is an AppOps problem or whether it is a DevOps problem. They try to figure out whether it is an application problem. Infra teams where InfraOps will try to figure out whether the infrastructure which is provisioned, is it that something which is need to be provided more, or they need to pump in more resources, right? Network team will start looking out whether the intranet or the internet connectivity between the two different sites is the problem, and they have to work on the bandwidth of all. At the same time, the security teams will have the more challenges that while these all operations going on, they have to make sure that the application or the network team, whatever the actions they do, they has to be a very secure actions, right? So the point is, why these challenges are becomes more the way the way application environment is becoming more distributed and more complex. The challenges become more complicated and to solve those problems, because this complexity becomes more goes beyond particular human where they can solve easily. And the reason is that at any point of time when these apps are now part of your business, we always hear that the many challenges which our customer face, they always try to meet the customer expectations. AppDynamics recently surveyed over 1,000 global IT decision makers and found that the rapid rate of innovation and this particular digital transformation in last 12 to 24 months has created a significant increase in the IT complexity. In turn, increasing the amount of data which is get created across your different technology stacks and from the different applications through the infrastructure to be network or the security. 75% out of them says that this data which get the overlaying data which get created at a different layer, it becomes very difficult to consume and figure out without any resources or support that where exactly the problem is and where exactly need to find those identifying the root causes of those performance issues, right? So the point is, you have a good amount of data, you need to see more data, and then only you can solve more, right? So the way Vardhan mentioned, let's look at it how observability can help you to help in this kind of situations. So the way I mentioned that when you have a different technology stacks across your business services, these particular technology stacks and the applications keep creating a lot of data. So all this data, the data can be created or ingested with this with the various open telemetry data, which can be ingested on the platform, and it can be correlated to figure it out where exactly the problem of your problem, right? And what is the root cause of that problem within your entire system. And not only that, with the identified root cause, it also gives you a complete insight to take a right action on that particular problem and at the right time. And those actions can be automated or can be remediated, so where automatically you can take the actions on those your infrastructure, whether you want to pump in more resources in your infrastructure, whether you want to deploy more microservices, those actions can be automated with that. Again, this is all, and with this you will be able to improve your customer experience, and in turn which will help you to minimize the business impact. So to understand in more detail, let's understand how Cisco can help you here. The way we are talking about the full stack observability from Cisco, right? So what we are doing here is we have this all that comes together from our customers. There is a lot of data which is getting pumped in from business systems. Earlier, we touched that on the complex landscape, our customers' application and the complex environment where the applications are running. We hear from our customers that they struggle the visibility up and down and across those stacks within those managed and unmanaged services. They're not able to find where exactly what is going at that point of time when there is a particular service is impacting. And it's also beyond the human scale now to monitor each and everything that impacts their application. So what this means is, whether it is your DevOps, whether it is your AppOps, whether it is a NetOps, or whether it is the infrastructure operations team, or whether your security team, all need to come together and work together to consume this particular data and figure out to smoother the digital experience. So we typically call out mean time to innocence for identifying those problems and mitigating those issues and helping these teams to collaborate and manage those events. So when it comes to the full stack observability, which is spatially designed across these particular pillars like visibility, insight, and actions. So we have all increased our usage of online bill payment, or from last couple of years, the way we are talking that when I'm doing a mobile bank payment, right, which can be my modern application, which is nothing but like a distributed, or which can be a microservices based, or it can be relying on any third-party services. We first observe everything in the stack, right? And in that stack, that where exactly the application is getting impacted, where exactly the business is getting impacted, whether it's retrieving the past due amounts, or whether it is selecting the payment options or doing a multiple account payments, we can correlate and map out that how the payment process has been taken and where exactly the impact is being experienced. We also relate and strategically figure it out the business metrics, which like what is the revenue out of those particular transactions? What is the conversion of those customers who are staying on your website and actually become your classified customers? Or the third party SaaS services or the user journeys of those particular your end customers, we can track them and allow you to get into the more details, and taking the insights and actions on that. And most importantly, we provide the actionable insight into business outcomes for the selected KPIs, like number of payment processed in last 30 minutes. And this allows the team to see how their applications are complex, and the stack is very complex and the applications, and most importantly, how it impacting the business. And with this, the level of full stack observability with the real-time business context, the team can prioritize, take the right action, for example, to optimize the route of the third-party SaaS payment service, and right size the technical stack of your utilization so it can maximize the revenue and minimize the business impact or improve the customer user experience level. Does that make sense? Now let's talk about the performance. When the full stack observability comes, let's talk about what are the use cases where we can classify it out of it. So what we have done is we support the major areas of full stack observability is like the performance, optimization, and security. So we believe full stack observability needs to have the business context in order to be alerted if there are any issues that are impacting on your business performance KPIs. But along with that, it should also it provides a cross-domain correlation and the dependency mapping across all the stack and provide exactly which is the particular area causing the performance issue and the reason behind it. And then it helps all the teams to prioritize which issues have been the largest business experience impact, and in order to take those corrective actions. So our customers need us, our FSO, to become a platform where they can uniquely support and leverage the depth and the breadth of a domain expertise across the application, network, infrastructure, internet, and the security layers as well, right? So when it comes to these particular areas, what we are doing is we support these particular use cases. So when it comes to, let's say, on a performance perspective, we do give you the complete hybrid application monitoring, where whether the application is on-premise or whether it is hosted in any particular cloud, it can be monitored, right? Or it can be a versatile of a technologies being used across for a particular business service. It can be covered, give you the complete end-to-end visibility, right? Or any modern cloud native applications, which can be the hybrid clouds, or it can be a multi-service provider clouds, where you can leverage those platforms to monitor that applications and the services and give the complete visibility, right? Along with that, whether your users are globally present and using your application services, we still monitor their digital experience and figure it out where exactly the problem, whether it is a network problem, whether it's an application problem, or whether within your data center it is a problem, right? And we do provide the complete application dependency between your third-party services or the third-party SaaS services, or whether it is particular cloud services or a particular on-premise services or particular any microservices work, right? And while doing this performance part in the optimization layer, we do provide a hybrid cost optimization as well. So our solution, which can provide you to or analyze you to figure it out where exactly your resource consumption is going on and where exactly you need to optimize the resources or you need to pump in the more resources while taking care of the cost, right? At the same time, whether it comes to the application layer, whether you want to automatically deploy the resources and whether you want to optimize that. So you can do with that with the help of full stack observability. And the most important part is, while we're doing all this, the security layer, we allow you to monitor your application from the vulnerability, and while deploying the patches or while deploying the new releases or fixing the application problem, we took care of your security part of it with the application security layer, right? With this, quickly take a look at that, which exactly the solution area of Cisco FSO is supporting these use cases. When it comes to the application monitoring, whether it is a hybrid application or the modern cloud native application, AppDynamics provide you the complete end-to-end visibility, right? When it comes to the end-to-end customer digital experience monitoring, with the help of AppDynamics and Thousand Eyes, we provide you the complete visibility when it comes to the application digital experience. While we are talking about the resource optimization with the help of Cisco Intersite Workload Optimization, which we call as IVO, it can help you to optimize your hybrid cost and the resources which are required for your applications. And the Cisco AppDynamics, the secure application. AppDynamics will help you to manage your security and vulnerability patches and allow you to prioritize which particular vulnerability need to be fixed, which particular layer of the application need to be fixed, depends on the impact on your business application. Does that make sense? And with this, I want to talk about the real-time dashboards, how it is exactly looks like. The way you can see on the screen, with the help of AppDynamics and the Thousand Eyes and the CWARM, you are able to get a complete full stack visibility of your applications. You are able to measure the business KPIs at the same time, that what are the particular payments has been processed, or you can monitor a particular payment journey over here. And while doing that, you can also monitor over the internet how your customer are experiencing the your application response time, right? And while that, if you're monitoring this, if you want to optimize or pump in more resources, with the help of CWARM, you can able to take the actions with a complete end-to-end, and this is completely automated in the manner, right? So if at any point of time when you are looking at these performance tests on the payment processing time, so you can see that when the customers are doing those payment processes, or you pick up any customer user journey, we can take that user journey, bring it on the dashboard, and at any point of time, you will able to monitor the related metrics, whether the business metrics or the technical metrics, you will able to bring on this in the dashboard. With that, I will take a pause over here. If anyone interested in any of these use cases, or if anyone wants to know more about the observability and want to have a demo in detail, please reach out to us. We are happy to engage with any specific use cases with you, and we can work on further. Thank you. With this, let's hear from Mr. Joseph, who has used our Cisco Observability platform to take their digital experience at the next level for their end customers. I'm handing it to Divya. Divya, can you please take from here? Divya, you're on mute if I'm not wrong. I can't hear you.
Well, thank you so much. Yes, I'm so sorry. I was speaking on mute. Thank you so much, Mr. Bhaskar, for sharing invaluable insights into full stack observability. There's so much for the attendees to take home. With this, we move on to the next poll before we start the session of Mr. Joseph. So I would kindly request everyone to participate in the poll number 2. And this is very interesting poll. I'll read out the question for all of you. Do you have any specific areas that you want to optimize using full stack observability solutions? So you have the options in front of your screen. I would kindly request you to punch in your options and submit the answers to us. You have about 60 seconds to participate in this poll. Alongside, if you have any questions or queries, I'd kindly request you to drop in your questions in the chat box. We'll pick up those questions during the end of the session, and our experts will be happy to answer those questions. Superb. So we have a lot of answers received. Okay, so we have 38%, 40% who have voted. We are still waiting for a few more polls to get punched in before we close this and move on to next session. Great. So we have closed the polls. Now I would like to have Mr. Joseph commencing the presentation. Mr. Joseph, can we have you here? Mr. Joseph, if we are not able to see you, can you just put your camera on? All right, thank you so much. Over to you.
Are you able to hear me now?
Yes, Mr. Joseph, we are able to hear you loud and clear. Thank you.
Okay, good. All right, let me just sorry, I had a lot of screens. So let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, we are able to see your screen.
All right, hello everybody. Good evening, and thank you for having me on this webinar session. And I'd like to, kind of share with you the journey that we in Globe, specifically in IT services, how we went through that process, and how we partnered with very important and critical teams like QualityKiosk and AppDynamics. No, so by the way, I actually lead a team of Service Operation Intelligence Center. So the composition really is more of instrumentation engineers. We do also have platform lifecycle managers, and one that handles our uh, monitoring is the command center. And to top it all, we've also have a team that does exploratory analysis, which uses advanced analytics capabilities as well. So maybe let's just, I just wanted to share to you how we journeyed towards this. No? It started 5 years back when I first stepped into Globe. Actually, I came from another company then, and I've joined Globe somewhere 2013, and we began to see what those challenges are. So um, we saw that in terms of people, there were like really disengaged personnel. No, uh, we we normally hear complaints from our stakeholders where we miss events and detections. If there are detections, it's late, meaning to say, it's our customer who first feels the impact before even us detecting it. And another thing to that, there were no set KPIs or performance scorecards that was put in place. Um, in terms of processes, there were what we call shadow monitoring. A lot of team does the monitoring, so where it's kind of dispersed, right? And with that, there was no process of synergy across the service operations, even in problem management, application, or infra support team. So there we realized there were no continuous improvements mechanism in place. And in terms of technology, we were using at the time um, BPPM. It's the remedy uh, platform, right? And when we began looking at how our command center were actually monitoring things, they were simply using spotty monitoring. So they had to projects would create the spotty sessions and get them into it. If they need to monitor, they had to pull in. Imagine the number of screens that they look into. We have a big office somewhere in BGC where they sit there, and then imagine them sitting in a long table with 5 monitors, and then they just scroll their chair left and right just to see. So that's why we began looking at why is it that we didn't have a unified event management tool at the time. And the result were we've been missing monitoring, even events and incidents. There were late escalations, and the culture of non-accountability began to sink in, and therefore uh, we were always reactive, so to speak. And the number of event tickets that we were able to gather in 2016 were below 213, if I may say. So this was the situation in back in 2016. We had to work into determining how do we put things in place and make sure uh, the initial goal really is we should be able to detect all these problems, the potential incidents, before even the customers feels it. Okay, so and that led us to putting up an RFP, so a request for proposal process, where we began looking at different vendors. We looked at different tools, and we tried to understand how these tools would work, and how can we consolidate all the different monitoring tools and maybe rationalize it at the end of the day, and then just put it in a single pane of glass, right? So this is where we were 5 years ago. Now, because of this partnership we've had with AppDynamics, and they were the first that we had encountered. So a local vendor actually introduced this to us, and there was really a little of that type of expertise, because they really anchored more of their knowledge from the principal vendor, which is AppDynamics at the time. So the first 2-3 years were kind of rough, and this is why it led us to began looking for other alternatives. Fortunately, AppDynamics had a contact from QualityKiosk, and they were the one who actually introduced QualityKiosk to us. And we were, at this certain stage, we were very, very happy in terms of the engagement we have. We have an easy way of onboarding resources. There's always an open mind in terms of helping us make sure we meet our goals. It's not a vendor relationship anymore. It became more of a partnership relationship, right? When you have that type of relationship, you share the common goal and the vision. And this led us to 2021. Now we were able to show to our senior executives that we've really improved the way we do mean time to detect. We've drastically increased 63% of all based on our 2018 metrics. Now we're even hitting 9.75 minutes. Today, it's actually a target that we didn't even set. We've set targets 15 minutes, but based on what had happened in the past months this year, we were able to achieve lower than 15 minutes. And you can see here, no, in this graph, from 2018, we were performing 31.5 minutes. Imagine an event that's coming in. It takes 30 minutes before it gets detected and escalated, and by the time it gets escalated, we have a lot of those customers complaining already, and this is not what we didn't want, no. That's why today we're so also happy that our ability to detect proactively has reached 76%, based on the multiple systems that we have. And by the way, we have a very complex hybrid environment in IT. So we do have our own managed private clouds. We do also have that public clouds. We have on-prem, right? And a lot of those things. And this chart that you're looking at, no, we as a telco, we've kind of identified the services that's important to the customer, and then also to us, to ensure that we know what particular service to prioritize. And because of this, we've even had the capability now to tie up services. This was together with, in partnership with QK. They've helped us go through that process of bifurcating this business transactions. And then the funny thing about this is, when I first got to introduce to QualityKiosk, they used the word bifurcation, and it was like first time in my entire career life even hearing that, and I had to kind of Google it. And that's when we realized that there were certain level of expertise these guys that are able to bring into our organization, and at the same time the passion to be able to make sure we reach those goals are there. The other thing that I'd like to highlight here is you'd notice we've actually increased the events by 12% based on our 2020 tickets. We're now generating around 8,583 tickets or events. These are events coming from a lot of those triggered alerts from different KPIs. And by the way, when we began our journey in 2018, we 2016, we were like just using 20 metrics as a standard metrics, and we had to really work towards defining and standardizing, and then putting up some policies around it. And today we've actually have more than 110% increase in terms of metrics that we monitor. And if you look at to that, those could no longer be handled by a human intervention, right? So today we're leveraging the instrumentation tools that we have today to make sure there's a way for us to adopt certain capabilities like observability, as Vardhan mentioned earlier, where you no longer wait for threshold breaches. Now, this is one of the other journey that I'd like to reach in the next coming months. So, before I move on to my next slide, let me know if there are any questions so far.
I would request all the attendees to share your questions in the chat box, and we'll pick up those questions and address towards the end of the session.
Okay, thank you for that. All right, so
Thank you.
thank you. So moving on, what's the framework that we are actually using now? To my mind, we actually have to look into several standards and frameworks coming from Gartner the most, and we've anchored ourselves towards that. But internal to my organization, we said we will put in an AI ops, an artificial intelligence operations, where we've created this framework internally. We call it closed loop integration, because this way we know at which area are we able to achieve, right? So when we began our journey, it's a basic detection and visualization, right? So we've introduced a single pane of glass. We've used specific capabilities of AppDynamics, particularly on application performance monitoring, which actually led us to saving most of the cost from another instrumentation tool that we are using today, by just leveraging AppDynamics APM and extending it up to a point where we began injecting AppDynamics in our CI/CD pipeline. Any mobile applications is created, they see to it that that's binded to that, and ensuring that we're getting the actual end user experience. The other thing that you'd see here is we've also put in a way to make sure that advisory and incident trigger are automated. Today, it's as simple as you get trigger alerts coming from a static threshold, or we use machine learning as part of our capabilities today. AppDynamics offers that, right? So there is this ability to do dynamic thresholding, learning the trend, and then from there, if it's beyond not normal, it triggers those kind of things, and we leverage those capabilities. The other thing is we wanted to begin looking at automated advisory, where if a certain event happens, we should be able to provide them a level of impact, a platform that got impacted, and what type of service is actually impacted, and how much potential revenue loss are we seeing if this continues to happen. Today, we do conduct impact analysis, but it's all manual at this state. But the data is coming out from the observability information that we've gathered across all different platforms using our instrumentation tools. And this is one of the things that's very, very important today. If you're having a mass number of those KPIs, and you begin to look into, is this really going to help us? That should lead you to thinking, how do we make use of all these metrics today? And then part of our journey is now beginning to really look into the correlation engines, because at the end of the day, the goal is there are this a storm of alerts, right, coming out from different platforms, but if you begin to run a correlation within that time period, you'd realize, and you will find out, that possible root cause is coming from another component within that service. So these are the things that we're trying to look at today. And we've, to be honest, we've been trying to attempt doing advanced analytics algorithms. I think we failed twice. We wanted to run a correlation, be able to predict in the next 6 hours if there's going to be actually a potential incident. So that's an area we're trying to work on at this time. However, what we are happy to kind of share with you is we're now able to do execution of self-healing or self-remediation. So an event, a certain threshold, and depending on the use case that was designed, a most basic would be if a certain file system and it's hosted in one of those critical paths hits an abnormal rate, what would happen is it triggers that alert, not using a static threshold, but you can also set a static threshold, by the way, and then it sends out those information to the other system that we have and then triggers the action. So now you begin to implement a more rigid, a more proactive approach of mitigating potential incidents. And by far, this is what we're doing. We're trying to get ourselves there, making sure that in the next year, which is 2022, we will see this through. We're almost in the process of getting ourselves more immersed and utilizing the available data that we have gathered by far the past 3-5 years already. So that basically is how we've journeyed, in the observability and monitoring capabilities that we've had to really venture for the past a couple of years. And mind you, it was not really easy. We thought it could be that easy, but at the end of the day, you need support from a vast majority of the key stakeholders. And one of the things that we've learned was that you really need to have a strong partner that can move with you in the vision, and then also, of course, you have an executive present, an executive support that would you need money, right, at the end of the day, that would understand and echo this on the board when you begin to ask for budget to make sure that you get this implemented. So there, I hope I was able to share some insights and how we've journeyed our monitoring today.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Joseph, for sharing the invaluable insights on the monitoring journey and how QualityKiosk and Cisco AppDynamics together has helped you foster the business growth and elevated your end customer experience. We're glad to know that. Thank you so much. Before we move on to next session, there are a couple of questions, the interesting questions that we wanted to ask. So can I go ahead? Can we move with that?
Sure. No,
the first one is great, thank you. So the first one is, what is your advice to your peers who are considering to deploy the full stack observability solutions in their organization?
Oh, well, basically, based on our learning, it would be better to test this in your dev environment first. Make sure you have that live traffic that you'd like to test against with. And second, if you're going to do this, one of the key learnings I had was I didn't have that expertise. So it's so important that you go reach out to professional services. And at the same time, if you're starting to build that capability internally, you might want to consider partnering with other external groups. Like in this case, we're partnering with QualityKiosk to help us get things started. And while we're doing that, we begin training, right? So in parallel, you'll be able to put that in.
Sure. So you are emphasizing on the fact that it's very important to have a partner in this journey, rather than doing everything internally, because that only helps. The external expertise only helps in giving with the recommendations or like you said that the in-depth analysis and all of these terms that you were not aware of before you were introduced to QualityKiosk.
Right.
I guess you're emphasizing on the fact that partner is very important in this journey of full
Indeed,
stack monitoring.
indeed.
Sure, great. So we'll move on to the second question. We wanted to know that what are your plans of sustaining and driving this in future? How are we going to sustain it?
Oh, that's a tough one, no? This is the plan. Really is we've created a 3-year roadmap, and
Okay.
on that 3-year roadmap, we're entering the second year, which is 2022, and we've identified key milestones already. And part of that
Okay.
was a strategy on rationalizing the tool, and then strengthening our partnership with QualityKiosk and together with
Great.
AppDynamics. And when we say strengthening, we did had some extra moves, like we've actually added up resources from QK
Okay.
to help us build this. And then from AppDynamics, they've given us really good support. The Cisco AppDynamics, they bring in all their experts whenever there's potential issues or problems. They come in. So the other thing that's very important also to consider is having a customer success manager that works with you.
Great. Good to know. Thank you so much for helping us with those answers and enlightening us with all the knowledge that you have. That was thank you for that. We got the invaluable insights from on the FSO right from the horse's mouth. And thanks once again, Joseph. Now we'll move on to the Q&A session. We have few questions received from our audiences. I'll just pick those up and I'll read it out. Um, So the first question is, what is meant by dynamic thresholding and anomaly detection? This is from Mr. Raghavendra Puttabadar, if I've read his surname correctly. Yeah. So Joseph, would you want to take this question?
So let me sure I understand it. So what's the difference between dynamic thresholding and what's the other one?
Thresholding and anomaly detection.
Anomaly. That's really a good question. So the dynamic thresholding, you just simply look at it as like more of a trend. You look at the trend, right? And you look at the historical trend, and then you measure the current transactions. And in this case, we use transactions when we do monitor. So if the transaction dips by 5 or plus or minus 5%, that becomes a way for your platform to do recognize that there is a set of thresholds that's no longer static, and it just follows that trend. So the trend changes on a daily basis. Normally, to us, we use daily trending. Now, for anomaly, this is quite different. Anomaly in our end is really more of it's so similar with the dynamic threshold, but there's always this a sudden increase, a spike. So maybe just to give you a good example, an increasing trend, right? You see a trend that's a CPU utilization increasing by a minute, every minute by almost 3%. That becomes an anomaly for you, because at the next 30 minutes, that incrementals of 2 minutes may hit 60% utilization. This is what you want to capture. Those are anomalies that you want your system to capture. The other thing is, if you're using logs in this case, and you're trying to check what are those that are not part of your KPI, but were actually determined by your machine learning algorithm. So there are some cases where we've actually made use of that business case.
All right, great. So thank you so much for addressing that question, Mr. Joseph. We'll move on to next question. We have few more coming in from our audiences. The second one is, for recent outages and issues, security is prime concern. How does FSO address this requirement of a secure platform? Jody, would you want to take it up?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I answered this in chat as well, but you know, security is a core component of the Cisco FSO platform. And you know, not only do we have products as part of this solution that address security concerns like runtime application security, so the ability to detect and even stop attacks in real time, even including the recent Log4j vulnerability. We have the ability to do that with the Cisco Secure Application functionality. But going now and into the future, looking at security from a cloud native standpoint. So looking at Kubernetes environments and adding security, image scanning, vulnerability assessments and whatnot to that. But then taking that a step further and telling, and this is the real power of observability, is saying, how does the security impact and work alongside, you know, other domains like app ops, DevOps, infra ops, the NetOps? If you make changes to security, how does that ultimately impact those other domains and ultimately the end users? So having this full 360-degree view that includes these different domains is really the summary of full stack observability, and being conscious of all of these different domains as they impact the end user. Yep, Divya, I think you're on mute.
Very well answered.
Oh, there you go.
Thank you so much. With this, we'll move on to the last question for the day. This is, how is Globe's adoption of automation tools / intelligent dashboards related to success? Bracket massive adoption. So since this is for Globe Telecom, I'd request Mr. Joseph to address this question, please.
Sorry, I didn't get. Can you just repeat that for me, please?
I'll repeat the question. Sure. I'll repeat the question. So how is Globe's adoption of automation tools / intelligent dashboard related to success? Bracket massive adoption.
Success of Gcash, actually. Success of Gcash.
In terms of Gcash?
Yes, in terms of Gcash. Yes.
Okay. Oh, well, first and foremost, just to be clear, no? Gcash is another company within Globe under Mint. So today, it's a total separate group within our watch. Before, it was part of our data center, but today they've moved into their own cloud infrastructure. But the way we are able to help make sure we're also monitoring that is through our what we call AMAX system. So using AppDynamics, we were able to capture transaction metrics. And then from there, because in the past we didn't really have that, so we were able to see if there are certain drops. Looking at, again, it's very basic. We look at the average of the past 4 weeks, and then we use that as a reference whenever Command Center looks into the boards, and if they see there's a certain drop, they will have to trigger an immediate checking. So that's how they gonna use it today.
All right, Mr. Joseph, thank you so much. That was quite a convincing answer. We'll close this webinar with a feedback form. So we have shared the feedback form with everyone in the chat box. I request everyone to fill in the feedback. If you're really interested in taking a demo and getting consulted on full stack observability solutions for your organization, you can kindly put in your request in the demo form, in the feedback form that we have shared with you. You can either fill it in the chat box, or you will receive the feedback form once you've ended the session. Either way, we'll reach out to you post-webinar and we'll provide you with the expert consultation. I would like to close this webinar with a thank you note. Thank you so much to all our speakers for addressing this interesting topic. I would also like to extend a huge thanks on behalf of QualityKiosk and AppDynamics to all the dignitaries and attendees who made this webinar a success. Thank you so much.